it's like there's no perfect victims. That doesn't exist. And that doesn't mean that Delilah is a bad person, even though she was unfaithful and untrustworthy in this partnership, even though that quality isn't one that we should necessarily adopt from her. What about her scrappiness? What about her independence? Her ability to wheel and deal, to take care of herself in this environment. Like, there's plenty of other qualities that I think are very admirable about her. And there's no perfect heroes either. So yeah, that was a long thought.
No,
there,
I love that. And I agree completely. I think, you highlighted the idea of she took bold action in order to enable financial independence for herself, number one, and presumably her family, in a world where women certainly rarely controlled money, right? I mean, there's men's game everywhere, right? I mean, certainly that, and still, have we changed that much is up for argument. I certainly would talk about that, but, that much money bought her something that really most women there couldn't have dreamt of, that is to be independent. So that's number one. I mean, number two, Delilah, to me, understood that brains could defeat brawn. I mean, here you have the physical, and again, if you treat it as an allegory, like you have the Superman, basically all physical, and yet she is able to, with mere words, defeat him, essentially. Like, no matter how strong he was with just words, using her brain, using her intelligence, because he relied only on physical power. So it's this, to me, there's this interplay of, hey, she couldn't take him head on with strength wise. She's not gonna subdue him. So that's number two. But number three, I'd even argue, like, unlike, what we would consider sort of a stereotypical manipulative woman, right? Like a harpy. Oh, she's manipulative. She does this. Delilah was straightforward. I mean, she literally asked him, what's your weakness? For separate time. Like, she wasn't like trying to find it out in a backhanded way. She's basically just like asking. And eventually he's like, okay, like, it says more about him than it does about her. I mean, I would almost argue, what did she do wrong? Like, she didn't, I don't even know that she said, hey, I'm not going to tell anyone. I just want to know. She just said, tell me. Like, she didn't even promise him that's our secret, buddy. Like, I mean, no, man, one would hope that at least she did that much, and he wasn't just like, well, what the heck, man, Yeah. So I mean, to me, I think that's. To me, I think it does show all of those things, and I kind of have I mean, again, I kind of view Samson got what he wanted, and he chose this. Like, I don't understand his behavior. Hers, like, she wasn't even sneaky about it. It was just like. And like 3 times, like every time like, okay, I can see the first time, like, okay, you're testing her. Like, she failed the test 3 times, and it's like, this time she's going to pass. Like, so good on her, really, in that sense. Like, if there
is something a little bit that is like, did he want her to do this? Like, there is, like, when you're reading between the lines of like, okay, it's not as though, like, I think sometimes when we look at older stories that we're like, oh, well, we can kind of explain away these pieces that don't make sense because of blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, the authors of these stories and parables were smart people, and they're trying to communicate a message. I have to imagine that there is some reason why he continued to tell her, and like, what is the lesson there? Like, is it truly like this idea of too much power is too much responsibility? And even if it's kind of this subconscious or shadow that comes out of Samson in the story that is like, I just need to confess something to someone. I just don't want to be the sole secret bearer. I don't want to have to deal with the weight of my strength. Like, there's something in him that's like, take it away from me because it's too much responsibility. It's too much power. Like, is there something there too that's like, it just seems odd. And I think to explain it away is actually to do the authors of the story an injustice. And another thought that I had earlier when you were speaking was also when you said, like, did she actually do anything wrong? It's kind of like, well, if there was a world where women did have complete opportunity to have financial independence and freedom, would Delilah have needed to do this at all? And if you don't want, like, it's kind of a thought that I've been having about the male loneliness epidemic that we're hearing so much about right now. That's like, okay, if you don't want to be lonely, guy, maybe don't treat women like shit. If you don't want women to manipulate you to get money, maybe make society a just one. Like,
and I would just point out that they're just manifesting what they believe anyway. So yes,
exactly.
all the women they see are that way because, and I mean, people can be that way, but they're just getting what they're focusing on, what they believe to be true. That's what they believe. And so they need to change their view, but they're never going to see a change in their own selves. But see, they're creating that. That's what I love about it. Everything is, and you're right, Samson, to bring it back to Samson, like, what did he, I don't care how dumb you are, you had to have known. Like,
right.
So at least some part of him had to be like, okay, like, you know, maybe he was tired. Maybe it was just like, whatever, I'm done with this. You know, like maybe he felt sorry, you know, who knows, you know, but you bring up such a great point there, such a great point. And, you know, another interesting question to me is, you know, in the Bible, right, like the people are celebrated, like Jael, Jael was celebrated for driving a tent peg through a sleeping man's head, but yet Delilah is demonized for cutting somebody's hair while he slept. So what does that tell us about who gets to be a righteous killer? And is there such a thing as a righteous killer? You know, again, another just thought, you know, a question that, you know, there's all these other things. I mean, again, a lot of bad behavior seems to be rewarded, but not here, you know?
Right.
And again, why? Because of who history is always told by those who win, right? The villain label depends on who's telling the story.
Well, and you know, it is so interesting too. It's hard for me not to compare it back to Jezebel. That so often, like, of course we see men that are Philistines and that are villainized in the Bible as well, but so many of these villains are women, right? And it's like, that is kind of interesting that a lot of the strong women that we remember in the Bible are villains, and it's just interesting. And even like the three women that supposedly were part of Jesus' congregation and followed him around as well, they're not mentioned very often. And even in our conversation around Mary Magdalene, there's not much about her in the Bible, even though she is arguably Jesus' most devoted follower. And so it's like we actually have so much more information about the bad women, about the evil women, than we do about the good and holy women, because good and holy women are quiet.
Right. Well, isn't there that trope or that, you know, good girls don't make history sort of thing? I think I've seen bumper stickers.